And we're going to look at Howie Roseman here. And we're going to get a proper assessment on him. Let's do it now. So I went back and I looked on the Eagle website because I wanted to make sure. Antone, just to corroborate with you here, I went back and I looked at the time that Howie Roseman was the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a 2-year stint, or excuse me, it's a 2-term stint. Many times he was the director of player personnel. Under Reed, he had assistant vice president of football operations, which was kind of just a, comment that they gave him. Like I said, they put him in the broom closet. So from 2010 to 2014, Howie Roseman was general manager of the football team in his first stint. Then from 2019 to present, that is his second stint as general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. Tone, that sound right? I went on the website of the Eagles. And unless something's different, general manager 2010 to 14, and then he was put back in that position 2019 to 23. Let's take a look at him in his drafts and what he has accomplished in those drafts. So we're going to go back to 2010 here. And we're going to look at the players that he's drafted. Because again, John McMullen just said the draft is going to be an important part of the process of retooling the team. Okay? It's not a rebuild, because rebuilds are for teams that suck. Here's 2010. Howie Roseman's first year as general manager. Brandon Graham, heck of a ball player. After that, Nate Allen, Daniel Tio Nassim, Lindley, Clayton, Kafka, Harbor, Sapp, Owens, Coleman. They got Brandon Graham out of that. Doesn't sound like much of a draft to me. Well, again, you go on the website, Yale, it says he was the general manager from 2010 to 14. It even says it in his Wikipedia too. Then he took over from 19 to 2023. It's on the website. That's not what it says. Okay. 2011. 85, that's the guy I brought up. Okay. Tone, do me a favor. Let's find out the times on when freaking the general manager was in control. Yale, since you know, what were the 2 terms of the years that he was general manager? Jesus criminy. Okay? Somebody hit it here. So the website for the Eagles is wrong and the Wikipedia is wrong. Really? And you guys are right, but the Eagle website is wrong. The Eagle website has this. I'm going here. Jesus criminy. It says it on the Eagle website. Whatever. Well, I'll show you. Hey, Eagle fan, you want to be wrong? I'll show you some of these draft choices this guy's hit on. I'll show you wrong here. Roseman, who served as Eagles executive vice president of operations from 16 to 18 before being added. Yeah, but see, football operations is not the general manager. Okay? 2010, look back at, my God almighty. What years were Howie Roseman general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles? Howie Roseman, Philadelphia Eagles, website. Full bio. Full bio. 2010 to 14, 19 to 23. Okay. Philadelphia Eagle draft choices. Yeah, because I know why now. I wouldn't want me to sit here and go over this list of picks. Philadelphia Eagles draft history. I got it. It's 2010, Jess. Jess, it's what it says on the website. Philadelphia Eagles history of draft picks. Here we go. Okay. I got it, Tone. I got the proper years. It's 10 to 14 and then 19 to 23. Okay. With his name as GM on the front door. Howie Roseman, Brandon Graham. Andy Reid, obviously, influence in the room. But the way we know that in Philly, head coaches don't have influence. Since when? Andy Reid had influence over the GM? No head coach has ever had that. That 2010 outside of Graham was terrible. 2011, Danny Watkins. Who's that? Who's Danny Watkins in 2011? Who's Danny Watkins? Who's Jarrett? Who's Alex Henry? Who's Deion Lewis? Chasing Kelsey in the 6th round probably saves that draft. Hey, Stanley who? Haville. Wow. Thank God Jason Kelsey is in that draft. 2012. Fletcher, outstanding pick. Kendricks. Who? Michael Kendricks? Vinny Curry. All right. Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP, got him in the 3rd round. You know, it seems to me this guy does a better job in later picks. Dennis Kelly, Brandon Washington. The 12th draft wasn't bad. 2013 is maybe his best draft. Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz, Benny Logan, Matt Barkley. The 2 top guys, obviously. Lane and Zach. 2014, before he was put in the woodshed. Marcus Smith, terrible. Jordan Matthews. Josh Huff. Jalen Watkins. Ed Reynolds. 14th draft sucked. Go to 19 now. Andre Dillard, bust. Miles Sanders, very good. Whiteside, terrible. Miller and Thorson. 2020, Rager, Jalen Hurts, Devon Taylor, Kayvon Wallace, Jack Driscoll, not bad, Swiss Army knife. Sean Bradley, Quez Watkins blows. (2021) Devonta Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams. This is turning out to be a great draft. Kenneth Gainwell. This 21 draft is maybe his best. Last year, yet to be determined. What would you give Howie Roseman as a grade as a talent evaluator? What would you say what would you give him as a guy who's going to have to build his team through the draft this year and not through free agency because the quarterback salary? A C? I don't think it's a D, Chris, because there's a couple Hall of Famers in there. Got to be fair. There's a couple Hall of Famers in there. And some productive players. Brandon Graham, very productive. Milton Williams is turning out to be somebody. Yale goes, I think Howie's of top 5 GM. That's not really the question I asked. I asked him as a talent evaluator for the draft. C+. Watch this. To Yale's point, though. Yale, watch this. So if Howie Roseman's a C+ in talent evaluation when it comes to the NFL draft, as a free agent guy, he's an A. So you're probably talking about a guy as general manager when it comes to being a personnel guy for both free agency and the draft. You got a general manager that pretty much gets a B for being a complete talent evaluator. Is that someone you would trust with a grade of a B? Yeah. That's not bad. He's an A for cutting deals. And Tone just goes like this. Hey, guess what? You can't be great at everything. It's true. There's so few guys that are good at both. Free agency. Well, wait a minute. I think Ozzie Newsome is, or was. I think Ozzie Newsome, in my opinion, as a general manager at finding talent, okay, like Suggs and Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and Bryant McKinney and Jamal Lewis. You know what I'm saying? And then making deals for Rod Woodson, Deion Sanders, Anquan Bolden. I thought Ozzie was probably the best general manager. Okay? Probably the best general manager that we've had in the last 25 years. I thought he was an exceptional defensive guy, his mentality, and he was a Hall of Fame player too with the Browns. Okay? The Niners are doing very well too. I think John Lynch is doing a really great job, but here's the problem with John Lynch. I mean, who's that kid they drafted from Stanford at defensive line? That is now, I think, with the Raiders. Who's that guy they drafted instead of taking Christian McCaffrey? Who was that dude? They took a D lineman, Solomon something. I don't know what. Solomon something comes to mind. And they drafted this defensive lineman out of Stanford, and he stunk. And it was like a third pick or something like that. It was a really high pick. Solomon Thomas, he was terrible. And that was like John Lynch's first Solomon Thomas. He was terrible. I mean, yeah, they all miss. And guess what? And at the end of the day, you go back, and I guess what you do here for a general manager, you kind of put it all together. Because, like Yale says, top 5 general manager. How about this, Yale? Watch this. Howie Roseman. You know what? And somebody brought something up, and I'm gonna make sure I clarify it when it comes to, it's not so much that Howie Roseman helps pick the head coach or the head coaches and assistant coaches. It's the fact that you undermine your head coach. That's my take on that. Sirianni has no say. Your head football coach is an interchangeable part in Howie's world. That's my point. You're right. He goes, wait a minute. Sileo's killing Howie Roseman for picking the assistant coaches, and he's been pretty right on them. But what you do is you undermine your head coach in the process. You clip his wings. Okay? You clip his wings. That's my take on Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni has no say. He may have some input, but he has no say in who these coordinators are going to be. He has none. Because why? The guy who's going to put the talent around who he hires at these coordinators, it's not Sirianni. It's Nick. It's Nick that's going to be doing this. Okay? I mean, it's Howie that's going to be putting all of these guys around a scheme that Nick's just going to be coaching. Nick's not going to pick a 34-43 because Howie's going to sit down with the new coach. This is where we're going here. See, basically what he does, Howie, he creates 3 head coaches in one. Jonathan Gannon worked with Nick Sirianni, but Jonathan Gannon worked for Howie Roseman. Here's the example. They couldn't stop the run. He didn't go to Nick. He went to Howie. They brought Linval Joseph and Adama Kitsu in. They didn't do anything schematically. They didn't do anything schematically to, and actually, as a matter of fact, they never righted it. They never fixed the run defense. Right? They never fixed it because the coordinator couldn't. He went to Howie. Hey, we got to get some people in here because we're not able to stop the run. I mean, they didn't Dan Quinn it. They went to Howie Roseman. This is Howie's show. Now, to Yale's point. Okay, watch this. How's Howie at making trades for like A.J. Brown? And watch this. A.J. Brown, Darius Slay, right? That's some pretty good moves there. And you somehow recouped a pick you gave to Tennessee through New Orleans, so you have 2 first-rounders. So think about what you did. You picked up a top-flight player, could have been the biggest impact player on trades of anybody in this past season, was A.J. Brown going to the Eagles. I'm trying to think, was there anybody on Kansas City that had a bigger impact than A.J. Brown? I'm trying to think in San Francisco. They went further. McCaffrey was a big impact, no question about it. A.J. was a bigger impact, though. Darius Slay, they stole him from the Lions and Matt Patricia. They stole this guy. So when it comes to making deals like this, Howie gets an A, man. Look at the free agents, like John McMullen just said. Look at all these guys having career years. It's his best free. It's one of the greatest free agent classes I've ever seen go into a team and have the impact. Reddick, Bradbury, C.J. Gardner, all these. I mean, Kaiser White, all these guys, all of these guys, all panned out. Okay? All panned out. G says, Sills, would you agree our defense was all style, no substance? G, here's my problem with your defense this year, and it wasn't who they were. They never validated themselves. Kansas City exposed them. Here's who they are. Don't ever tell me that you had the best corners in the NFL when you don't play man coverage. And when you tried playing man coverage, like John said, in the Super Bowl, you were killed. They confused themselves. They did something that they untraditionally do. They played man coverage where they didn't play it all year. And Andy Reid schemed them to death. Running crossing routes, they were so confused in the secondary. Guys are coming wide open. Juju Smith-Schuster's not that good. Juju Smith-Schuster belongs in the Canadian League. He belongs in the Canadian League. They were not. And by the way, you're going to pay Darius Slay $18 million this coming year to play center field? Man, what a waste of money. I'd rather have a lesser guy back there at lesser dime. That's what the Chiefs did. Chiefs put 2 rookie guys on the corners because they lost them in free agency. They put 2 rookies on rookie deals. Kansas City's defense may not be spectacular, but it's good enough with Mahomes on the other end. It's good enough to win a Super Bowl. They proved that. Kansas City has nowhere near the roster the 2022 Eagles had. Nowhere near it. It was good enough to beat you, though. Because you know what? Fundamentally, they couldn't stop the run, and they can't play man coverage. That's why Mahomes in the second half of that Super Bowl had a 90% completion percentage. He could have completed passes with a blindfold. They couldn't stop him. And like I said a couple days ago, one of the things that was evident in that game, the only incomplete pass he had in the second half was a throwaway. So watch this. Talent evaluation on the draft, C+. I'm starting to think that's not that bad a grade now. How about his evaluation on coordinators? He did get Doug right. Right? He was part of that process. He had to be. Had to be part of the process of getting Frank Reich in the building. I don't know. I think that's an A too. Free agency, I think that's an A. Balancing the cap, that's an A too. So Yale, to your point, making trades, gathering draft picks, A. College drafting, C+. Free agency, bringing free agents in, A. Pro personnel, and hiring assistant coaches. The only problem that you have with all this, what's the problem that you have with Howie, all of this? Watch this. Hiring coaches, involved in pro personnel, involved in college personnel, involved in the salary cap. What's the problem that you have with this? You got this guy involved in every single aspect of your football team. And your coaching staff, which is the direct developer of the talent that's in the locker room. Remember some of you guys, it's total control. It totally is, Danny. But wait, before we sit here and cast a stone at it, this is why having a guy like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox in the building, you have to understand this. Because I agree with you guys. I think they respect Nick Sirianni in the building. And I think the players respect him. Because you know why I think the players, and I don't, hey, okay, it is ego. It is ego. But wait a minute, guys. Before we throw a stone at Howie on this, the players in the building, especially this team, do we not agree? They know that Nick works for Howie. And Nick is cool with being in a submissive role in that. And Nick works his ass off and works just as hard as the players to get you ready for Sundays. That the players in that locker room respect that. You bring a whole new crew in, and you bring a whole new free agency group in, do they know that? Do they know that? Because a blind man could walk into that locker room and go, this guy has no say, like they do in Dallas. See, when free agents and rookies walk into Dallas's locker room, they have no respect for Mike McCarthy. But in Philly, you know what they've done? They've created, and I mean the players, have created respect for Nick. That's the Eagle way. That's different than Dallas. Dallas has no respect for anybody in that building but Jerry Jones. Here, watch this. The face of the franchise in Dallas is Jerry. The face of the franchise in Philly is Jalen Hurts. The face of the franchise in Kansas City is Patrick Mahomes. The face of the franchise in Cincinnati is Joe Burrow, Allen in Buffalo, Wilson in Denver. The only place on the planet that you have that dynamic is in Dallas. Howie and everyone in that building has made the environment so, look, Nick doesn't really have a lot of say, but we really like Nick. And the players respect Nick. And that's what makes it work. So if you bring in a brand new crew that doesn't know that dynamic, and you guys keep saying, we're going to move off of Fletcher Cox, and we're going to move off of Brandon Graham, and we're going to move off of some of the guys who have been here a bit, man, that's a tough putt because you want to keep that continuity going in the building. You want to make sure everyone that walks into that locker room understands the Eagle way. They've developed something here. You can feel it. They've developed it. Actually, if you think about it, they did it right after Doug Peterson. They weren't going to go down that route again because they had two horrible divorces, one with Chip and one with Doug. Doug was tough because you know why? Doug is a successful coach. He's a great coach.